shadows with her heart on the line. Told herself it would be alright this time. In the world that she knew, there was always a place, but the people she loved couldn't see her face.
Have you ever felt overlooked, as though you just don't quite fit into the place where you thought you belonged? Imagine being a mother, watching your own children get sidelined, simply because they don't meet someone else's idea of special. In today's story, we're going to talk about Lily Bennett, a single mom who faces the painful truth of being left out at her own mother's birthday party. But instead of letting the hurt define her, Lily makes a powerful decision to create a new path for herself and her kids. A path filled with acceptance, love, and joy. This isn't just another story of family drama. It's a reminder that sometimes the best way to overcome exclusion is to build your own space. One where you and your loved ones are celebrated for who you truly are. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and let's dive into Lily's journey of finding a place where she and her children could finally shine. The drive to my mother's house was filled with a heavy silence. I could feel my anxiety building up the closer we got. The familiar streets of New Jersey passing by in a blur. Sophia and Ethan were excited, sitting in the back seat, chatting about how much they couldn't wait to see Grandma. They didn't know it yet, but today wasn't going to be the happy family reunion I'd promised them. When I had first gotten the invitation to my mother's birthday party, I had thought it was going to be a simple, fun occasion. Then she asked me to leave Sophia and Ethan at home. "This is a grown-ups only event," she had said. I had hesitated but agreed, thinking that it would be a nice break. But as I pulled up to my mother's house, the unease started creeping in. Something felt off. As we walked inside, I immediately noticed the warmth in my mother's face as she saw James and his family. James, my older brother, was there with his wife, Anna, and their 3 children. They were laughing together at the table, acting as if they were the stars of the show. And yet Sophia and Ethan weren't even allowed to be there. I could feel the familiar knot in my stomach tightening as I stood there, watching my mother fawn over her other grandchildren, completely ignoring the fact that mine weren't included. James's kids were always the golden children, perfectly behaved, quiet, and easy to entertain. Meanwhile, Sophia and Ethan didn't quite fit that mold. Sophia had always been sensitive, and Ethan, well, he was all energy, constantly moving and bouncing off the walls. They weren't difficult, but my mother always seemed to view them as a bit much, a little too chaotic. My heart sank as I watched Sophia and Ethan stand quietly beside me, unsure of what to make of the situation. They didn't understand why they weren't allowed to join in the fun. They were just kids after all. All they wanted was to be seen, to feel like they were part of the family, but instead, they were left standing on the sidelines. "Mama, look what we made," Lily, my niece, chirped as she proudly handed my mom a hand-drawn birthday card. My mother's face lit up, and she showered Lily with praise, completely ignoring the awkward tension in the room. Sophia looked at me, her eyes wide with confusion, and I could see the hurt starting to creep in. Ethan tugged at my sleeve, his face filled with hope. "Why aren't we playing, Mama?" he asked, his voice small. It took everything in me not to break down right then and there. "Mom, I don't understand," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "You told me this was a grown-ups only party." My mother turned to me, and the look in her eyes made my blood run cold. "Oh, Carmela," she said, her tone soft and dismissive. "James's kids are different. They're special. I'm sure you understand." I felt a wave of anger surge inside me. Sophia and Ethan were just as special as James's children, just as worthy of being celebrated. But my mother's words cut deeper than I was willing to admit. "They're all your grandchildren, Mom. All of them," I said, my voice quiet but firm, trying to hold back the tears. James, noticing the tension, smirked slightly and adjusted his designer tie. "Come on, sis. You know how Sophia and Ethan can be. This way, everyone can have a good time." I felt my heart breaking as I stood there, watching my children shrink under the weight of their exclusion. I had made excuses for my mother for years, but this time I couldn't ignore it any longer. "I'm leaving," I said, my voice steady. "We deserve better than this." Without another word, I turned and walked out of the house, feeling the weight of the situation pressing down on me. It wasn't just the party, it was everything. I had given my children the best of me, but it seemed like it would never be enough for my family. As I drove back home, the weight of the day felt like it was pressing down on my chest. Sophia and Ethan were quiet in the back seat, trying to process everything that had happened. Though I could tell they were confused. They hadn't fully understood why they weren't part of the party, and I didn't have an easy answer for them. How do you explain favoritism to a child without making them feel inadequate? I looked in the rearview mirror at their faces, Sophia's solemn expression and Ethan's wide, questioning eyes, and I felt a deep sense of guilt. They deserved more than the hurt I'd seen in their eyes tonight. But I also realized something. This wasn't just about tonight. It wasn't even just about my mother anymore. This had been a pattern for years. My whole life, I'd watched as my family, especially my mom, favored James and his children, while mine were always pushed aside. It hadn't always been this way, but over the years, it became clear. Invitations to family dinners always seemed to come with conditions, like events were planned around James's schedule, as if his family's needs were the only ones that mattered. The amount of times I'd been left out of family gatherings because they didn't fit into the way my mom expected things to be was too many to count. The subtle exclusion, the way my children's needs were minimized, it was a constant reminder that we were never quite enough for her. It was time for a change. I pulled into the driveway and turned off the engine. The quiet of our home felt strangely comforting compared to the tension of the evening. As I sat there for a moment, I thought about what I could do to turn this situation around. Not just for me, but for Sophia and Ethan. They deserved a celebration, a night where they weren't judged or excluded. I wasn't going to let them feel less than, and I wasn't going to wait for my mother to come around. I grabbed my phone, scrolling through my contacts until I found a name I hadn't thought of in years. Antonio Ricci? We had been friends in high school, and after graduation, he'd gone on to become a renowned chef. I had heard about his restaurant, Giardino, one of the best in New Jersey, and I knew that this could be the perfect way to create a night my children would never forget. The kids had been begging me to visit, especially after seeing Antonio's cooking videos online. Taking a deep breath, I dialed the number, not sure what to expect. The phone rang twice before a familiar voice answered. "Lily? Is that you?" Antonio's voice was warm, full of energy, just like I remembered. "Yeah, it's me. Long time no see. How are you?" "I'm doing great. What's up?" I hesitated for a moment, then decided to just ask. "I know this might be a little out of the blue, but I was wondering if you could do me a huge favor. I've got a couple of kids who could really use something special tonight. Would it be possible to bring them over to Giardino, maybe for a little cooking adventure?" There was a pause on the other end, then a cheerful laugh. "Bring them over right now, Lily. I've got just the thing in mind for you guys. I'll make it unforgettable for them." Relief washed over me, and for the first time today, I felt a glimmer of hope. Sophia and Ethan were going to have a night to remember, a night where they were celebrated, where they were truly special. When we got home, I was eager to break the news to Sophia and Ethan. They were both sitting on the couch, still a little quiet from the awkwardness of the party earlier. I could tell they were still trying to make sense of what had happened, and my heart ached for them. "Guess what, guys," I said, trying to sound upbeat. "We're not going to Grammy's party. Instead, I've got a surprise for you." Their eyes immediately lit up with curiosity. Ethan bounced up from the couch. "What's the surprise, Mama?" I grinned. "How about a cooking adventure? We're going to meet a real chef and even help make dinner." Sophia's face brightened, and she put her hands on her hips. "A real chef? Is it Tony Ricci?" I was surprised. "How did you know?" "I saw his videos on YouTube. He's amazing." I couldn't help but laugh. Ethan was already bouncing around with excitement, and Sophia had the biggest smile on her face as she grabbed her coat. We piled into the car, and the drive to Giardino, Antonio Ricci's renowned restaurant, felt like it took no time at all. As we walked through the doors, I could already sense the difference. There was something special about this place. The warmth of the kitchen, the hustle and bustle of the staff, and the rich aromas of fresh herbs, garlic, and baking bread filled the air. It was a world so different from what they were used to, and I could see the awe on Sophia and Ethan's faces. Antonio greeted us at the door, his chef's whites crisp and spotless. His face broke into a huge smile when he saw us. "The Bennett family," he said, waving us in. Come in, You're just in time for some magic." He immediately knelt down to Sophia and Ethan's level, greeting them like little chefs. "You must be ready to cook," he said, handing them each a mini chef's apron. "You're officially junior chefs for the night. Ready to make some magic?" The kids couldn't believe it. Ethan's eyes were wide with excitement, while Sophia carefully tied the apron around her waist, her usual shyness replaced by pure wonder. We were led into the kitchen, where Antonio introduced them to his team. The kitchen was an orchestra of activity, with chefs chopping, stirring, and plating dishes at lightning speed. It was like watching a live performance, and Sophia and Ethan were captivated by the organized chaos. "Today we're going to make something special," Antonio said, his voice calm but full of energy. "Tiramisu, one of my favorite desserts. You two ready?" Sophia nodded eagerly, pulling out her notebook where she had been writing down recipes from cooking shows. Ethan, bouncing from foot to foot, was ready to dive in head first. With Antonio's guidance, they started helping with every step. Antonio showed Sophia how to handle the delicate ladyfingers, teaching her how to dip them into the coffee mixture just the right way. Meanwhile, Ethan was tasked with mixing the mascarpone cream, his little hands doing their best to follow the instructions. The entire time, Antonio was there, encouraging them, offering tips, and making sure they felt like the stars of the show. I watched them work together, laughing as they took on their roles in the kitchen. For the first time today, I saw Sophia relaxed, focused, and happy. Ethan was in his element, his energy channeled into creating something tangible. It was like I was seeing them in a new light, like they finally belonged somewhere. As they finished assembling the tiramisu, Antonio stepped back and looked at their creation with pride. "This is the kind of magic I love to see," he said, smiling at me. "You've got two real chefs on your hands." As Sophia and Ethan worked side by side in the kitchen, I couldn't help but marvel at how different they were when they were in an environment that celebrated who they were. It was like I was seeing them in a new light, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I could tell they were truly happy. Sophia was in her element. She was so careful, methodical in everything she did. Antonio had shown her how to dip the ladyfingers just right into the coffee mixture, and she approached the task with the same precision she used in her herb garden at home. As she gently handled the delicate ingredients, I could see the same care she gave to her plants, how she nurtured each leaf and stem. She seemed calm, her usual quiet determination shining through. I couldn't help but smile as I watched her focus on each step, making sure everything was perfect. When she carefully laid out the soaked ladyfingers in the pan, it was as though the whole world had slowed down for her, and she was in complete control. She was confident, and it made me proud to see her thriving in this environment. Then there was Ethan. If Sophia was the steady, meticulous one, Ethan was the whirlwind of energy and joy. From the moment he stepped into the kitchen, he threw himself into the experience with excitement. While Sophia concentrated on the details, Ethan was already bouncing around the kitchen, looking for the next thing to do. His favorite task was decorating the tiramisu, and he approached it with all the enthusiasm he had, using chocolate shavings and whipped cream to create playful designs on top of the dessert. His boundless energy, often seen as a challenge at home, was now being channeled into something positive. Antonio embraced it wholeheartedly. He encouraged Ethan to explore, to let his creativity flow. "I love the energy you're bringing, Ethan," Antonio said, as he showed him how to pipe the whipped cream perfectly. "That's exactly what a good kitchen needs, energy and passion. You've got it." What struck me the most was how Antonio treated both of them. He didn't try to force Ethan to be still or tell him to focus more, and he didn't push Sophia to be faster or louder. He allowed them to be themselves. He knew exactly how to channel their individual strengths into the work they were doing. It was like he had an instinct for recognizing what each of them needed. Ethan's energy became the driving force behind the decoration, while Sophia's focus helped perfect the structure of the dish. Both were celebrated for who they were, and neither one had to change a thing. By the time the tiramisu was ready to be served, I could see that it wasn't just a dessert anymore. It was a symbol of what they had accomplished together. Antonio looked at the finished dish with pride. "This is amazing," he said. "Sophia, your attention to detail is impressive. And Ethan, look at that decoration. You've got a future in this, both of you." The joy on Sophia and Ethan's faces was priceless. They had found a place where they were valued, where their unique qualities weren't just tolerated, they were celebrated. For the first time that day, I saw the spark in their eyes that had been dimmed by exclusion earlier. They were shining. The moment we finished our evening at Giardino, I felt an overwhelming sense of pride and relief. Sophia and Ethan were buzzing with excitement, each of them clutching their little certificates that Antonio had given them for being official junior chefs. We had created something special that night, something none of us would ever forget. And little did I know, the night wasn't over just yet. The photos from our cooking adventure quickly made their way to social media. I snapped a few pictures of Sophia and Ethan proudly displaying their tiramisu creations. Their faces lit up with joy, their aprons dusted with cocoa powder. I posted a photo with a short caption. "A night to remember with two of the most creative young chefs. Thank you, Antonio, for giving them the best experience." It wasn't long before the reactions started rolling in. Parents from our community began to comment, expressing their admiration for the experience and their gratitude for showing that children's unique talents should be celebrated. "This is amazing. My son struggles to stay focused in school, but he loves cooking. Where can we sign up for something like this?" One comment read. Another parent wrote, "Finally, a program where kids can be themselves and still be recognized for their gifts. I'm so glad to see this." As the comments poured in, I felt a sense of warmth. It was like we weren't just sharing a personal moment anymore. We were part of something bigger, a movement that celebrated individuality. The encouragement was a sign that we weren't alone in feeling that our children deserved a space where they could shine. A few days later, I received a message from Antonio. He had some exciting news to share. "Hey Lily," he wrote. "I wanted to let you know that we're starting a kids' cooking program at Giardino. I've seen so much potential in Sophia and Ethan, and I want to create a place where all kids, no matter their learning style or energy level, can feel supported and celebrated. I'd love for them to be part of it." I couldn't believe it. Antonio had turned our little adventure into something bigger. He had decided to launch a cooking program for kids, where they could learn valuable skills, express their creativity, and be recognized for who they truly were. No longer would children have to fit into a box. They would be free to explore at their own pace. When I told Sophia and Ethan, their eyes sparkled with excitement. They had already made their mark in the kitchen, and now they would have the chance to help teach others. I could see how much this meant to them. It was a chance to belong somewhere, to be valued. As I thought about it more, I realized that while my mother still clung to her old biases, Sophia, Ethan, and I had created something that was truly ours. We had found a community, a new family tradition, one that celebrated individuality, creativity, and inclusion. In a way, we had found our place, and it felt like home. The next weekend, Sophia and Ethan helped welcome the first group of young chefs to Giardino's new cooking program. It was everything we had hoped for, a space where kids of all backgrounds, with all sorts of learning styles, could come together and learn in a supportive, inclusive environment. As the weeks passed, Sophia and Ethan thrived in their roles, mentoring younger children, sharing their love of cooking, and continuing to grow in ways I had never imagined. I couldn't help but think, sometimes, creating your own family and tradition is exactly what you need to make the world feel right. The next morning, Sophia and Ethan were already up and buzzing with excitement, their energy still overflowing from the night before. The kitchen smelled like fresh coffee and pancakes as I set to work preparing breakfast, but this time, the mood was different. It wasn't just a routine morning. There was an air of possibility in the room, a feeling that we had moved past the hurt and into something new. As we worked together to get the meal ready, Sophia organized the ingredients while Ethan set the table with his usual enthusiasm, chatting nonstop about the cooking class and how much fun he'd had. The night we spent at Giardino had shifted something in all of us. It wasn't just about making a meal or being good enough for others anymore. It was about making memories, creating new traditions, and finding joy in our own company. Once breakfast was ready, we sat down together at the table, the three of us, surrounded by the warmth of our home and the sense of unity that we had built over the past few days. As we ate, I couldn't help but reflect on how far we had come. Just a few days ago, I had felt like we were outsiders in my own family, excluded and unappreciated. But now we were creating something entirely our own, something that had nothing to do with anyone else's expectations or judgments. I turned to Sophia and Ethan, smiling. You know, what happened at Giardino was amazing, I said. But what really matters is that we found something that makes us happy, something where we can be ourselves. You don't need to change for anyone. They both nodded, understanding the weight of what I was saying. For the first time, I realized that my children had learned something more important than cooking skills. They had learned about self-worth, about how to find joy and acceptance in places that truly valued them for who they were. As we prepared for the next cooking class, I felt more connected to Sophia and Ethan than ever. The program at Giardino wasn't just a cooking lesson. It was a lesson in acceptance and the power of finding a space where you are celebrated for your uniqueness. I looked into the camera, feeling a sense of clarity as I shared my thoughts with the viewers. Sometimes the family you need isn't the one you were born into, I said, my voice steady but full of emotion. It's the people who understand you, the ones who accept you for who you truly are. The family you create with your own hands, with your own heart, is just as real as any blood relative. And it's a family that can support you through anything. I paused, letting the message settle. Then I asked, have you ever found a place where you truly felt accepted? Or maybe you've created a space for yourself, a place that feels like home. I'd love to hear your stories. Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're inspired, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We're all on this journey together, finding our places where we belong. As I finished recording, I felt at peace. It wasn't about changing anyone's mind or seeking approval. It was about creating a space where we could shine, no matter what. And for Sophia, Ethan, and me, that was enough. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey. We hope this story has inspired you to find your own space, where you are truly appreciated and celebrated. Remember, the family you create and the communities you build are just as important as the ones you're born into. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment sharing your thoughts or personal experiences, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss out on more heartwarming stories in the future. We're so glad to have you with us on this journey of discovery and growth. See you in
She stood in the shadows with her heart on the line, told herself it would be alright this time. In the world that she knew, there was always a place, but the people she loved couldn't see her face. But she found a spark in the dark inside, a voice that whispered, you're not alone tonight. With every step she learned to let it go. The love she craved, she finally let it show. And now she knows where she belongs, a place to grow, where love is strong. No more hiding, no more fear. She's found a place that feels so near, where hearts are free and dreams can fly, in the spaces where the soul can shine. She found where she belongs. Oh, oh, where she belongs. Oh, oh. She held her children and she saw the light. Their hearts were shining just as bright as the night. No more waiting for someone to see. They're the ones who are finally free. In their eyes she saw the truth unfold, a love that's precious, a love that's bold. They don't need to change, they don't need to hide. In this new world they've got nothing to fight. And now they know where they belong, a place to grow, where love is strong. we search for a place to be, but the truth is we are enough, you'll see. In the quiet, we learn to rise with open hearts and loving eyes. Now they know where they belong, a place to grow, where love is strong.